President.
Thank you. The opening ceremonies, if you would stand, please, if you are able. Dear Lord, as I was preparing for spring, but summer arrived, however, my first prayer tonight is for unity. I pray that our decisions will be a blessing to our community. Please watch over everyone who is present tonight and grant all a safe passage home. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any comments tonight?
None tonight, ma'am.
There is a consent agenda of 3 items. We can remove them for discussion, or you may give me a motion to approve all 3.
Make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Been moved and seconded.
Raven,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Follett,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next will be reports from the Trust Authority Board. Is there anybody here tonight representing one of our Trust Authority boards? Thank you. Next will be the financial report. Mr. Meacham. Nice to see you, sir.
Good evening. I didn't know if I was going to get to speak tonight. I thought maybe you heard too much from me earlier today. I will make it quick. I'm going to get as quick as I can make it. You know, and that's a relative term relative to Mr. Kennedy. So we'll go with that and before Tracy clocks my trap door. Couple of things that we always hit, and we'll look at, you know, our consumer price index. I mentioned that earlier in our meetings. You know, Any questions? Try to sleep short sleep tonight. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be business. We have some items to discuss and possibly take action on. The first one is to receive recommendations on the zoning map from the Blackwell Planning Commission. And I think you have the map in front of you. Miss Cindy, you want to talk about this?
Yes. It was about a 3-minute meeting. They recommended approval very quickly. There are 2 notes that you have on your map. There are 2 sections that we noticed that are changing on the map, but we're not changing anybody's zoning, so we want to make sure that those 2 stay the same. So we recommend approval with those 2 amendments.
And the planning committee had both those.
Yes.
So you, on the map, you want to change those that are marked the central business district and those 2 things?
Yes, well, that's what they're already done right now on the current application.
So what do you think?
They're erroneous on this map. They should have shown
So we're not.
we're not
changing the
doing
zoning,
anything.
we're correcting them.
Yeah.
Yes.
We made, or let's blame it on Shishmita. Shishmita from Noda made a mistake. She's not here, so I'm not blaming her, right?
But we,
But all we're doing is what we've already got, you know?
but because we accepted this map, we have to correct.
Well, we haven't accepted it yet. The planning commission, when they recommended it to it with placing these back in these zoning districts. So now is the time to consider it, and approve it. And this is a great day. The last time, that you approved the zoning map, I was in the 11th grade. That was 1972, okay? And I've got to tell you that we've radically, and Cindy, we've radically improved, you know, your zoning ordinances and all. I mean, your zoning ordinances they were mimeographed, and some of them were in Word, and then some of them were hand transcribed by monks. Back in the 15th century, it was all cobbled together as a zoning ordinance. And we had 2 different zoning maps. And so.
We've actually got a few different ones that are.
Yeah,
Whoever took it upon themselves to color pencil in, I don't know.
So what you've done in the past is you've approved the new zoning ordinance with some new zoning districts in them. And now our zoning map is coordinated with that zoning ordinance, with the proper zoning districts. And we're getting a digitized map,
Yes.
so that when we make changes, we can make those digitally. We have this where we can pull out and you know, make smaller stuff and show where zoning is. It's improved radically, and the only person that's happier than me is Cindy to have this. So we're
Make it
sure.
available.
Yes, we can put it on the website.
Because some professions need to get that
Yes,
up.
we can put it on the website. I know we get calls this weekend. It'll be easier for them.
So there's no motion with this first. This is just a presentation, and the motion will be.
That's correct. And if anybody else wants to speak to it, we did have a public hearing then, but certainly anyone that wanted to speak to it can speak to it today.
Is there anyone that wishes to speak to it? Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Hearing none, let's move to item B. Consider approval of ordinance 2026-04 of the City Council of the City of Blackwell, Oklahoma, amending Part 2 of the Blackwell Municipal Code 2024 by the amendment of Chapter 7 entitled Zoning Ordinances, by the amendment of Section 7-105 entitled Districts, adoption of the zoning map, providing for repealer, savings, codification, severability, penalty, dispense with the reading of the ordinances at 2 regular meetings, not less than 1 week apart, as provided by Article 3 of Section 2 of the Blackwell City
start, just as a matter of fact, sticking that in ordinances, because we've got that charter provision, and it may come in handy, because I never know how many people are gonna be here, and if we need to make something immediately effective, approve it at that meeting, whether or not it's immediately effective or not, because the emergency makes it immediately effective. But just to approve it, because if you don't do that, or pass the emergency, then you have to have a second reading, okay? So it's just something new that we, that's been in the charter for a long time, but we really haven't brought it because the occasion hasn't come, but with that sales tax and thinking there were only gonna be 3, we did that, and then I stuck it in all the ordinances, okay? So for purposes of this ordinance, I'm hoping that you'll declare an emergency, because we waited since I was in 11th grade to get this, up to date and digitized. And we have had our hearing, so a motion to approve it, and then to consider approving the emergency would be appropriate. Any questions?
Are there any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-04.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Martin.
Aye.
Motion carries. And C is to consider approval of the emergency clause for ordinance 2026-04. Are there any questions?
Make a motion to consider approval of the emergency clause for 2026. Second.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Martin.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. D is to consider approval of request to seek bids and bid specifications for 2 solar-powered license plates reading camera with indentures. And you'll speak to that?
Yes, ma'am. This is to go out for bid for 2 additional license plate readers. We purchased 2 through a grant last year, and then we were awarded the grant for 2 more this year. So we're just one, it's a 100% funded grant through the District Attorney's Council. So we're just asking you all to bid for those.
And it's fully funded.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's nice.
Have y'all seen any, results from having those?
Yeah.
Already?
Yes, we got alerts on stolen vehicles and violent offenders. We've been able to help try to locate people that have come within our city, being able to find out who they are by their license plate.
It's great.
Any questions?
We do appreciate your efforts on the grants.
Thank you.
Very much so. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve the request to seek bids. I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Martin.
Aye.
Motion carries. Under item E, let's start with part 2 first and then go to part 1. Number 2 says, consider dispensing with the reading of ordinances at 2 regular meetings, not less than 1 week apart, as provided by Article 3 of Section 2 of the Blackwell City Charter. And this is what Bryce had just talked about.
Yeah, and I do want to tell you, we're not putting an emergency on this ordinance. We were never going to put an emergency on this ordinance, even if you have 4, because it's got to be approved. Not only can you make it immediately effective until it's approved, okay? But we do want to get moving on this. We've got to take the documents up, as you know, if this gets approved, up to the election board by April 1st, and we won't have a meeting before April
Braden,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll go to E, number 1, consider and take action with respect to ordinance number 2026-03 of the city of Blackwell, Oklahoma, amending ordinance number 2699 as heretofore amended by ordinance number 2753 of the city by extending the September 30th, 2023 termination date to June the 30th, 2041 for the collection of the 1.5% excise tax, sales tax, levied pursuant to the said ordinances, providing the remainder of the ordinance remain unchanged, providing that the provisions of this ordinance are cumulative and in addition to any and all taxing provisions of other city ordinances, providing for severability of provisions and containing other provisional related thereto.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, we've been talking about funding the rest of our water project for actually a couple of years. And we've been talking about it real specifically for a couple of months and in real detail for at least the last 3 meetings, this being one. You know, as we know, after COVID, prices went up really high. And we should have borrowed more money when we initially did this, but no one anticipated what would happen. You know, and the prices would go up the way they would, and the way they did. And so, you know, we've tried to make the best that we can. We've spent a lot of that money. We've improved the water treatment plant significantly. But we're under consent order, and we have to finish it. As everyone knows, the water treatment plant is 100 years old. When we're done with this, it's going to be up to speed for the next 40 to 50 years. Or maybe 100 years. I'm not sure that's what they said 100 years ago. This will last us 40 or 50 years. Nothing lasts 100 years. So we've had Matt Coe, and he's come and talked to us and run us through specifically what he thinks we need to do. We've had John Wolf, who's here to answer any questions about, you know, if this passes, what that financing could look like, and how we can do it. Because what we're not proposing today is raising rates. Because you, the council, have told me we're not raising rates. And I think we've talked about at all of our meetings, we currently have this sales tax. It's 1.5 cents. It runs on for another 4.5 years. But we have to continue because we're under consent order, we have to build this water plant. There are parts of the water plant that is something, you know, we fixed a lot of it to make it, you know, that if something went wrong, but if something major went wrong, we may have a real problem. Okay, so it's just the stuff we need to do, we need to get done. If you agree to pass this ordinance, you're not passing the sales tax. You can't. All you can do is say, public, have at it. That's all you're doing tonight. And all you're doing is recognizing, one, we need a water plant. Two, we're under consent order. Three, we don't want to raise rates. And what's the best way to do it? And, you know, the best way that we could figure out to do it is by extending that sales tax. It would extend it for another 11.5 years. If the public doesn't pass it, then we're going to be right back here again. And the only thing that's going to change is that the public didn't pass it. We're still going to need the water plant. We're still going to be under consent order, and we're still going to have to do something. Okay? So what we're asking tonight is for you to tender this question to the public. The election date on this is
sir. So June 16th will be the vote. When would we actually go to OWRB and borrow the money if the public votes to continue that sales tax?
There are a couple of dates that we've been looking at. The type of program that we had discussed at the last meeting, that you're looking to, if the vote passes, you decide to borrow additional funds from the Water Resources Board. It's a bond loan program. And the process is you have multiple borrowers, municipalities, some water districts that want to borrow from the same program you guys want to borrow from. And what the board tries to do, and what we try to do as your financial advisor, is to look at which entities are ready to go. Because that's going to be very important in regards to the date. That the water board's meeting in June is on election day. And so we have one option, which is to provide a application for you to go to the board the same day that the election is held. And the reason I gave you all that other information about other cities is these other cities are still posturing to decide which meeting they're all gonna come together and ask for, City of Edmond. I think they're asking probably north of $300 million. So what difference does City of Edmond make with Blackwell? Well, they're actually cost by the Water Resources Board, and they go out and sell their bonds, you know, all their professionals, have nothing to do with you. Let's say that's $250,000, $300,000. Well, if you are 16 million and everybody else is 360 million, you only have to pay your representative share percentage. That's 16 million divided by 300 or $400 million. So it saves the citizens here thousands of dollars. We're not sure exactly who's lined up yet to be ready to go in July. My thought on this is that because they both fall on the same day, that we would go to the board's July meeting, which is the third Tuesday in July. And we'll have the actual results of the election, because when we submit an application, a key element that Jerry's pointing out is you don't have a sales tax pass, yes or no. And we can do a lot of communication with the board and say, hey, here's what's happening. But ironically, it's on the same day. I'm not sure, Jerry, that's what you were addressing.
That's part of it. The reason I posed the question, sir, is obviously everybody knows what's going on in the world. If there's a drastic economic impact to the world, and let's say things go up astronomically, you know, that gives us time between now and July. I mean, with the way the world's moving right now and the conflict that's going on, is 14 million going to be enough for any legal bond? I know nobody can answer that question. That's why I posed it.
And so the question would be then, we're asking for the sales tax. The math on this is very easy. It's saying if you borrow this amount, this is what your debt payments are, and based on what your sales tax is, and what it generates today, is it going to be generating that over the next good question. Would we want to ask the voters to go out longer than this day so that we can do the debt longer and then we can cover ourselves for it? There's a lot of pieces to it.
Well, I think the good thing is, you know, until June 16th, we get a watch, see what happens in the next month, 2 months.
Main thing, what we're going to continue to look at this and analyze this and communicate to your public as to where we're at. This is, and if things change based on the numbers that Mr. Keller provided to you at previous meetings, that's possibly going to be brought up to you. There's no, this is something that's going to take the attention, and not just the attention at the last minute. I think what you're saying, we're going to be on here in this. I think it's important that all your professionals, including your engineer and us, that we say, here's where we're at. This is what we think it's going to look like. But the intent of this is obviously to avoid, in a perfect world, that everything falls. As far as the cost estimates, as far as the interest rates, but we live far from the perfect world.
Sure.
I think I would add, you know, the first time that we came with the estimate, I felt like the engineer was doing this, you know, right about there. You know, in this, there actually been calls made, numbers talked about, you know, it's taking it right down to suppliers, what would they supply at this point? I mean, that's how we arrived at this estimate. And putting it together, cost, you know, concrete can go up, a lot of it will be concrete, but a lot of it's gonna be machinery, you know? And so you don't know what those prices will be, but the prices that we've got are prices that are market prices right now. I think the other thing that Mr. Code said is here is that a lot of the ARPA money has been spent. There's still some that's being spent, but he is seeing that the contractors are getting hungrier and hungrier. He just told me yesterday the spread between two bids in Pawnee was $500,000, and the spread in Cherokee last week was $500,000, and those projects were less than $2 million or less than $3 million. So huge spread in bids and in with engineers' estimates. Of course, you know, anything can happen. And of course, Jerry's right, you know, he's, I think, you know, when we had a meeting here the last time we meet, Jerry asked about the straits, the Gulf of Hormuz, is that what he said? And he asked that question to a guy that runs $1 billion or more in equity trading. And that was the one question that we got, the guy in Chicago up there. He came, you know, probably not a big deal, you know, we take a lot to sink a ship there. It's a few, you were here, it's a few weeks later, and it's like, you know, Jerry should have had one of, you know, Carson's, John R. Carson, what was it? The Magnificent or whatever he was, because he kind of nailed it that day. So I'm certainly not going to take, you know, anything away from that. But the best that we can give you today is, and what we've given you over the weeks is our best guess. And extending it more. God, I'd like to be able to tell the public that we took our best shot at this. This is what we believe it is, and if it's not, you know, we'll find a way. You know, remember, currently we've gotten, well, what is the number? $2 million, $2.5 million in additional CDBG funding and other funding for this project. Now, some of that may dried up, but you know, we've been fairly good at getting those additional dollars. So,
Well, everything counts. One thing we did, I would say, it's a safety net to a certain degree, is you have the money that's sitting there that you haven't drawn down from what we did 2.5 years ago. There's still money there, and that's still $180
continue to be a daily conversation, obviously, with as unstable as things are. You know, Matt's been a savior for us, and he truly cares what goes on here in Blackwell, and we can't thank him for that enough. So, just to reassure you, even though, you know, they could go from one side of the pendulum to the other in a 12-hour period, you know, those are constantly monitored every day. So, a lot of phone time on the streets of Louis, unfortunately.
You have any questions for Mr. Wolf? Any questions for Bryce or Jerry? So Bryce, you would like a motion that says,
Up to approve ordinance number 2026-03.
thank you, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number F is to consider and take action with respect to Resolution 2026-0002, authorizing the call and holding of an election in the city of Blackwell, state of Oklahoma, for the purpose of submitting to the registered qualified electors of said city the question of approval or rejection of ordinance number 2026-03 of the city, which amends ordinance number 2699 as heretofore amended by ordinance number 2753 of the city by extending the termination date from September the 30th, 2030 to June the 30th, 2041 for the collection of the 1.5% sales excise tax levied pursuant to said ordinances, all as more fully set out in ordinance number 2026-03 of the city and containing other provisions relating thereto.
If you want to call the election, approve this resolution.
Any questions for Bryce or Jerry? Any discussion?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2026-0002.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number G is to consider approval of ordinance 2026-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Blackwell, Oklahoma, amending the Blackwell Municipal Code 2024 by the amendment of certain sections in Article 6 of Chapter 20, entitled Access to Tobacco and Vapor Products and Other Tobacco Rules, amending Section 2601 entitled Definition, adding the definition of nicotine products and amending the definition of vapor products, amending Section 20-602, 20-603, 20-604 to provide that second and sequential offenses shall be reported and coordinated with the Able Commission in considering the penalty, providing for the amendment of Section 2609, which provides for tobacco and marijuana-free environment in the city vehicles, providing for the amendment of Section 2610, providing for the posting of certain signage at the entrance of the city-owned outdoor areas, providing for the amendment of Section 20-611, providing that the police department shall enforce the provisions of the article, providing for the balance of the article for ease in review and consideration, making the amendment to apply for TSET gold status and qualify for grants, and to reduce the use of tobacco, vapor, and nicotine products by minors. Repealer, savings, codification, statute
most of this you already have. We're not making a lot of changes here. You already have rules on tobacco, rules on vapor products, and rules on minors' access to tobacco and vapor products. It's just that, for another community, they were going for gold status. They tell me it's not gold, silver status, but he said anymore. I don't know, but the person that we were dealing with was saying, do these things, you're top. You gotta have these things. And they're applying to the roof, the Pawnee Boathouse, and a few other things. And Cindy has some projects that she wants to file for TSET. And, our date is March 30th at 4 o'clock. So time is very short. That's why, we need to approve this, ordinance and another ordinance that we're putting before you. But just looking at this, understand it's not underlined or deleted, it's already ordinance. So there's nothing on page 1. On page 2, they wanted the definition of nicotine product. Okay, so that's what we did. They also didn't quite like our definition of vapor product. They wanted it a little different, and so we changed the definition of vapor product. That's all we did in definitions. Now, for the next few ordinances, what they want is they want the violations for second subsequent violations. They want for us to report this to the Able Commission, and for the penalties that Able Commission have to be considered when the judge is deciding what the fine would be. Okay? So that's just something statutorily. Able, of course, controls liquor and tobacco and liquor. They're wanting a little coordination. It's really for the judge in considering the imposition of penalties. So you can see that is under section 602, and it's under section 603, and it's under section 604. So there's no other changes, all the rest of it is all the same. So then we look at section 605, there's actually no change. We just wanted to make sure that you had the full ordinance, so you could read it. Then there's 606, and that is really the end of minors and tobacco. So now you get down to the bottom of page 5, and we're talking about another subject, and that is smoking lighted products, marijuana products, or any type of tobacco products or nicotine products, or vaping inside buildings and in outside areas. The first change that's made, and this of course is already the rule, but the first change that's made is on page 7 under F. And what they wanted is they wanted not only smoking and vaping, but they wanted tobacco products, the use of tobacco products in vehicles. Okay? So if you prove this, if you're in a city vehicle,
This could be chewing tobacco.
it's tobacco,
Tobacco.
it's free of all of that. Okay? So that's a change. We didn't have that before, but that's probably a healthy change, and that is that change under F. The next change is on the next page. We have to put some more signage up. If you'll see under subsection 8, we have to put little signs up. Now we have to put big signs, and this is where the change, well, it's changed here, but the one that you got, let me show you the word. The second line, it did say owned or operated by the city. But the actual language in the whole ordinance is owned and operated by the city. Sometimes there's city properties that are leased out to third parties, okay? And those are not covered by this ordinance. This is the language that they gave us. So if it's leased out, it's not covered under this ordinance. We may still put signs up there, even if it is, okay? But I wanted it to be consistent with the rest of the provisions in the ordinance. So we changed the or in the initial one that you got to and. That's the only change from the on page 11, the statutory construction, they wanted us to say that our ordinance is consistent and in harmony with state law, and to support public health policy and tobacco prevention, and that we believe in the broad construction of our ordinance for public health protection, and then just the severability clause that we stick in all of our ordinances, so that's no different. So the things that are underlined is what was required to get us up to that higher status. It's not much. You know, we had a lot of this were already the rules. And so we are asking you to approve this tonight so that we can max out dollars when Cindy files for that TSET grant or grants.
Cindy, what were the grants for? Was this for the walking trail?
Yes.
This is, she's applying for grants to have our walking trails repaid. So that's what this is in relation to. And just to give you a broad number on that, it's about $25,000. So $35,000 repaid for each one of those. So if we get this grant, that would save us a lot of money. But I will tell you, in case you didn't know, Blackwell does have Legion Park, Riverside Park, McClung Trail, plus we have sidewalks, multiple sidewalks through the town, so there are plenty of walking trails in town. So we're pretty fortunate to have that many, being a smaller community as we are.
Will we post these at parks, so would people sit in a park and smoke for vape, so that would be illegal?
In public parks, yes, and unless they're operated by someone else. But that already is illegal. There's no change there. And this has been in place for a number of years. Now, of course, it's got to be, there was one other clause there, and that was an enforcement clause. It was in the deal. The police department is charged with enforcing this. And of course, they have the right to use their discretion. Really, it's a matter of people are smoking, it's bothering somebody, they walk up and tell them to stop, or did you see the sign? Please put that out. But, this is all tied into the next item, which is all about, healthy living. That's what we're trying to push. And there are opportunities for more TSET grants. So you're really not doing anything more than what the law already provides, except with that non-lit tobacco products in vehicles, and then requiring us to put up signage. Those are really the changes that you're making.
Any questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-05.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving to the next page, we are on H, which is to consider approval of the emergency clause for ordinance 2026-05, that we just talked about.
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency clause for 2026-05.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Braden,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number I is to consider approval of ordinance 2026-06 of the City Council of the City of Blackwell, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 7 entitled Zoning Ordinances of the Blackwell Municipal Code 2024 by the addition of a new Article 8 entitled Promotion of Healthy Food Access, Community Nutrition, Active Living, Supporting Farmers Market, Community Gardens and other food pantries, and providing for walkability and trail development by the addition of section 7-801 entitled Purpose, by the addition of section 7802 entitled Farmers Market, by the addition of section 7-803 entitled Community Gardens, by the addition of section 7804 entitled Food Pantries and Community Nutrition Programs, by the addition of section 7805 entitled Active Living Policies, and by the addition of 7806 entitled Implementations, providing for repealer, savings, codification, severability, and dispense with the reading of the ordinance in 2 regular meetings, not less than 1 week apart, as provided by Article 3 of Section 2 of the Blackwell City Charter, and declaring an emergency. And Todd?
So, like Bryce said, this is an ordinance we're applying for the walking trails grant. And this is a requirement for us in order to apply. I will say Charlie Clary at the Industrial Authority has been talking for a few years about running the farmer's market. I told her we were presenting this, and she was very excited. She has several people that she talks to, and wants to get us started very soon. She did say she would offer a letter of support for this grant too.
Do we not have a little farmer's market? Is this different from
I know we have the food market,
example of that?
and I know there are people that set up at the fairgrounds and sell around town. I don't think we actually
Have a
farmer's market.
as such.
She did say that she knows the person that runs the Ponca in the Big Rock.
That's good. Thank you. Do you have any questions for Cindy? Thank you, Cindy.
You know, Mayor, I hate to jump in here, but I do want to tell you that, you know, in the ordinance, we really set out the things that Blackwell already does. And, you know, I mean, if you look at this, you know, these farmer markets, we've got the whole fence down, we can do that. And what we're saying is that, you know, we would be happy to have them out there and do those kind of things. We have a community garden right now at the water treatment plant. We're wanting to expand those community gardens. Here, as far as food pantries and community nutrition program, we have the Weehart Nutrition Center. We have Meals and Wheels. We have the House of Prayer Food Bank. We have the Blackwell Associated Charities. We have the Blackwell Public Library that does its child nutrition program. So, you know, we have a lot of this, and I think we'd be amiss to not point that out, that we're doing a lot of these things. As far as trails go, we have an existing trail system at Riverside Park, Legion Park, and along the corridor from Bagby Park to McClung Park. And then also, we, on our own, with our own money, put in the sidewalk project running out to the elementary school. Not within the TAP grant or any of that, we did it ourselves. So, you know, I just want to point out that, you know, we're deserving of this grant because Blackwell is involved and has been promoting for years community health. And I think this really, if we're putting in our code, we're actually putting it in our zoning code, because we're wanting our policies in the future, you know, that we come up with and we plan to reflect healthy living. So anytime we think about farmers market, community gardens, trails and the like, that's what we should be pushing. That's really the purpose of this, making this an ordinance and putting it in our code. It'd be a part of our policies and part of our planning.
Thank you.
Okay?
I'll entertain a motion for ordinance 2026-06.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-06.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded.
Braden, Moen,
Aye.
Hullet,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. J is to consider approval of the emergency clause for the ordinance 2026-06.
part or something, it's just gonna cost too much to repair. We're just asking to surplus it so we can get it off our inventory. Thank you.
Any questions?
How long has it been out of service?
Close to 2 years.
Where is it housed?
Right now it's a city garage.
Okay.
They looked into it, and it's more than they can repair. Probably have to take a new engine to repair it, and that's more than the truck's worth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to declare fire department brush truck as surplus property no longer needed.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any new business to come before?
None this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. The regular meeting of the City of Blackwell is now adjourned. And we will begin with meeting 2, which is the Blackwell Municipal Authority. And we need to have a roll call vote, please.
Braden,
Here.
Henderson is absent. Moen,
Present.
Pollitt,
Present.
Murphy.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Are there any comments?
None tonight.
Thank you. There is a consent agenda of 4 items. Again, we can remove any if you wish.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Under business, consider approval to award a bid to the water plant forklift to the sole bidder, Hug and Haul Equipment, in the amount of $56,415.68.
Mayor, council, this is a budgeted item. Obviously, you can read in the background there. Only 30,000 was budgeted, but we're taking the rest of the leftover, not leftover money. They were gonna bid, try to get a used dump truck that was budgeted for $70,000. And we will not try to acquire a used dump truck this year, so that's where that money will come from, to get it from 30 to 56,000.
Any questions?
Did they think that that's, I know it's only one bid, but is that a little bit around what it should cost?
Yes. Actually, it's on the low end. The other ones I've seen when we first started looking at prices on these were between 60,000 and 72. So it's kind of crazy how much, like the mayor stated earlier, prices have went up on stuff. So. And once again, this is an important piece of equipment that's going to make their job easier and more efficient.
Do they need this more than they need the,
At this current time, yes. And their truck is budgeted for next year, that's what you saw this morning. And we had a discussion, like I said, this morning. They could have gotten a used one, but we all know when you get used equipment, especially any type of construction equipment, it's kind of a roll of the dice and how hard that equipment's been used, so. I think it's a better investment with taxpayer dollars to buy them new, rather than use one in 6 months to a year or something major out of it.
any additional questions or comments?
I make a motion to approve the award bid to Hug and Haul for the amount of $56,415.68. I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any new business at this time?
None this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. I declare the regular meeting of the Blackwell Municipal Authority closed. And our third and final meeting tonight is the Blackwell Facilities Authority meeting. I'd like a roll call, please. consent agenda has 2 items.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded.
Braden,
Aye.
Moen,
Aye.
Pollitt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any new business to come before
None this evening, Mayor.
this evening? All right. At this meeting,